Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today on our next webinar. So we're making a few changes in how we're doing this. I know we're doing webinars every week. We're going to switch that to an every other week schedule going forward. So essentially, we're going to be focusing on what's new. So any new features that have been released since the last meeting, we'll be going over, talking about how you can use those in your workflows, and give you any examples that might be useful for you there. So in case you all haven't met me before, my name's Justin. I'm a product specialist here at Flxpoint. I help out with a lot of our training and working through our new features. So yeah, this will be a pretty good one. So that way, if you're working in Flxpoint and you see any of these features that feel will be of value for you, these webinars will be going over how to use those and what the implications are of using those. So this week, we're going to be talking about some of the recent changes we made. This week, there's no really large changes or really new, like major new features. A lot of these are some good housekeeping things. And if you are using some of these features, it could be useful to know how they work. So one of the bigger ones here is excluding out of stock products in our aggregate rules. We modified this to update how we use that if there are missing values for out of stock products. So I'll get into an example of that. We've upgraded our dashboard integration navigation. So make it a little bit easier to get into your navigations, cutting down on those clicks to get into where you need to go to make any changes. We've recently released a canceled purchase order notification workflow, which is very useful if you're using vendor portal or your source integration is sending back PO notifications if they're being canceled or not. Also, if you're using our PO acknowledgement feature, there is a manual way to modify that and adjust the PO acknowledgement once it's happened. And then also for those of you who may be doing custom dev work, we've released some API PO acknowledgement features there, which would be useful for using those. So let's dive into the dashboard and take a look at these. All right. And if there's any questions on these as I'm going through it or something doesn't make sense, feel free to post it in the chat or the Q&A section and I'll get to it as soon as I can. All right, so let's start out with our aggregate rule, exclude out of stock products. So if we take a look at that, that's in our settings under products and aggregate rules. So we've had this exclude out of stock feature before, which basically means using our aggregate. If the source for that item is out of stock, we're not going to include that value in the calculations. It's especially useful for cost, MSRP, so that way you're not calculating in an out of stock source's cost for that, because we know we're not going to be able to fulfill from there. So we're not going to try to calculate that cost in. So what this new feature does is if that product is out of stock and it is the only source that has that value available. So one of the useful ones here is for map. So say you have an item that's available from 3 sources. The only one that has that map value saved in the feed is one of the sources that is out of stock. So what we're going to do is still include that, even if you have this turned off. So that way, at least you're still getting a complete data set from the sources. So I'll show you an example here of how that works. So I know it's kind of hard to kind of rationalize that, just hear me talk about it. So I have an item here that's available from 2 sources. And we can see the quantity available here for this item from our top source has 44 available, but they don't have a map value associated with this item. This other source down below has 0 available, but it does have a map value. So on map, we do have exclude out of stock turned on. So previously, if we did that, we wouldn't see a map value on this item because that's out of stock, so we're not going to include it. But with this new change, what's going to happen, even though this one's out of stock and it's missing on the other source item, we're still going to include it. You can see that right here, map value is 199. So that way you at least have a full data set and can use that for your calculations. Because the idea behind this is we don't want to, subjectively pull data out if it's the only piece available. So that way you can complete your products with a full data set. All right, and another important change here, kind of good quality of life change. If we go into our sources page, or really any of our dashboard integrations on the source or channels, you can see now that the top kind of type of integration here is highlighted. So if we click on that, it's going to bring you right into your integration settings. So that way you're not having to go into it, click into integrations, and then get into it that way. So it's a lot easier way to get into your settings and cuts down on the clicks to get into it. So if I want to modify my get orders on my Shopify store, I can click that and it brings me right there. Same with any of the other integrations, it takes you to that type that you pulled on. And while we're here, another cool feature that we just released, a good visual here, is the status icons next to the integrations. So when when your integration is fully set up, we're gonna have a green configured icon there. And if one of them is still in a draft, it's gonna show yellow. So if I start creating this, but maybe I don't save it completely. See, it's in a draft status here. If I refresh, it's going to show as a draft. So it's going to show yellow, meaning that's not completed. So it means there's something else that needs to happen there. So it's a good visual cue to determine, if everything's set up or if there's some pieces missing, or maybe I haven't completed something there. Is a good visual throughout your integrations to check that out. All right. So the next new feature we updated is a canceled PO notification, which is very useful if you have vendors using the vendor portal, or based on your integration with your suppliers, if they're potentially canceling POs, whether they can't fulfill it or for some other reason. We've updated a notification to make sure you get an email on that right away, so that way you can take action on that if necessary. And that's going to be found under our main settings down in the bottom left. If we go to notifications, and again, just to update here, all these notifications are going to go to this default email that you put in the top here. And if you have multiple folks needing to get these emails, you can comma separate them and add other emails to this notification dialog. And the canceled PO notification, that's this bottom one here. So anytime we get an update from your source that the PO has been canceled, if that type of integration is set up, then you'll get a automatically generated PO at the time that happens. So that way, if there's some action you need to take, maybe trying to find another source for that item, or if it's your warehouse and it's unable to fulfill it for whatever reason, you can then, I need to take action with this customer and either refund or offer an alternative order if that's available. So pretty good workflow here. So that way you're keeping on track of your orders and your purchase orders that are out there. So that way nothing's getting missed, especially when you have a ton of orders going through, you need to take action on one of those. Any questions so far on any of these changes I've touched on? Feel free to post those in the chat or the QA section. All right. So the next two are modifications to how we handle PO acknowledgements. So this is something that really is dependent on the supplier integration and how those work. A lot of times we see this through our EDI integrations because there is an acknowledgement transaction that happens there. But going forward, you are able to manually adjust that PO acknowledgement. So if we go in here and go to adjust PO, we can adjust if we want to acknowledge the product on the order or if we're going to cancel it. So this is a manual way to do that. If you're not already using PO acknowledgements, I would definitely check with our support team and see if it needs to be set up if it can be set up. Otherwise, if you do start going in here and acknowledging things, especially with our pre-built inventory source integrations and those suppliers, that's potentially could cause some issues with the natural order flow. So if you're not already using this and you want a little bit more insight onto that, I definitely suggest reaching out to our support team, because otherwise, if you're not already using this and you start going in there, it could potentially cause some orders to not be processed. But the cool part here, you can acknowledge these manually, or you can say, hey, I'm actually don't have this. I'm not going to fulfill it. I need to cancel this acknowledgement here. And then when you do this, it's going to say, do I want to cancel this completely? So it's kind of a kill or fill scenario if you guys are familiar with that. So you can say, yes, I want to cancel this from this purchase order fulfillment request because I'm going to fulfill it from another source. So maybe this is an item that you carry in your warehouse, but you also have other sources that might be able to fulfill it. So that's a scenario there. Or maybe you're the sole provider for this item, and for whatever reason, maybe your quantity didn't get updated from your warehouse in time, or maybe there's an issue there. So you can actually kill this order, which would be cancel from this PO and the order, which means I'm not going to try to fulfill this from any other source. I'm going to kill this line item on the order, and you can handle that there. So pretty cool feature there. The other side of that is we did release, those of you that are integrating via the Flxpoint API, more granular controls over the PO acknowledgements as well. So if I pull up that doc here, these are our Flxpoint V2 API docs if you haven't seen these yet. Or if you're interested in using this, definitely reach out to our team and we'll be able to help you out with that. But we did add 3 new acknowledgements for purchase orders via the API. So we do have kind of a catch-all patch call to acknowledge all PO items on the order. So depending on how your developer or you are coding out this interaction, certain use cases, you just want to say, yep, I'm acknowledging everything on the order, all looks good. You can use this call to handle that more simply. There is a post call that we have that we can update individual line items on the order, so we can acknowledge singular items, groups of those items. And then this also has that kill or fill workflow that I showed you in the UI previously. So we also have that option here in the API to kind of handle that if you want to completely cancel that line item or cancel it from the PO and allow it to be fulfilled from another source. And then kind of opposite of the original patch acknowledge call that I said, we do have a cancel all PO items acknowledgement. And again, this still follows that same fill or kill scenario where maybe I'm not going to be able to fulfill it from the source, but I do want to fulfill it from another one, or just completely kill this. I'm not going to completely fulfill this at all. I need to do something else with this order, just cancel it completely with the customer there. Awesome. So those are the main new features that have come out in the last 2 weeks. Just so you can keep an update on that and show you where these are found. If you go to our contact us page, there is a what's new page here. So you can see these changes. This top one here, the rebuilder settings, we actually rolled this back. It was changing a default setting that we didn't want to actually modify. So that has gone back to normal, so no change there. But you can see fully on here, it gives us our API doc changes and the changes we've made to the dashboard here below. So if you're not able to make the webinar, obviously we always post those online at the end of the week, or you can take a peek at this change log that we have to get an update. Because typically I will be doing these webinars about a week after this gets released. So if you see any features on here that you want to take a look at or want to hear me go through, definitely be able to attend the next webinar, and we'll get into those on that. All right, so that's all I have for today. Unless anyone else has any questions on these new features or any other questions that might be able to take a look at on this call, definitely happy to do so. If not, I'll let you all get back to your lunch break and enjoy the rest of your day. So I'll wait a few minutes here in case there are any questions in the chat. Otherwise, we'll see y'all in 2 weeks. Oh, yep. Hey, Glenn. So here is the product profit report. So again, this is with any of our profit reports, you do need to have invoices coming in for the sources to be able to see this data and calculate it correctly. But these product profit reports is a good way. Let's see if we have these in here. Yeah. To see on a kind of overall timeline how your products are profitable. So we import your channel invoices here, and then our actual costs, these are going to be coming in from the invoices, and it's going to show you a product profit and a total profit based on the differences with your shipping fees and things like that. Yep. Yeah, Glenn, I'll get with you later this week on that. But yeah, we're looking into something else we might be able to do there without the invoices for you. But otherwise, yeah, we'll need invoices to import for this to show. And it's a pretty good check to see if you're being profitable. This is my test account, and I accidentally sold some things at cost. So that's why we're seeing a negative profit here for me. Typically, we always want to see that in the positive, but on my test account, I was selling things at a negative. So that's why we're seeing that there and a total profit in the negative on those. But yeah, awesome. So we'll loop back with everyone in about 2 weeks. Yep, Kaylin, the webinars get posted to our YouTube channel usually by the end of the week. So you'll see those there. Definitely check that out. There's a lot of other good videos and things to check out on our YouTube page. So definitely check that out there as well. All right. Thanks, everyone. Hope you all have a good week, and we'll see you in about 2 weeks for the next webinar.